Right then. Sensational Saturday here. Big day. Big day. Big weekend. It might stretch into a 2-day project, but today is fish crib day. Yep. Cold. Be right back. Yep. Fish crib. This is going to be so cool. Yep. I've been thinking about this one for a while. So, the plan is building a fish crib. Taking that old amphibious 6-wheeler ATV that I can't restore, much to my chagrin, because there's a gear in the transmission that's all chipped out. And this machine is, in the amphibious ATV world, is pretty rare. Apparently it's highly desirable in a certain part of the United States, out New York way somewhere. People really like these things for some reason. I don't know. But I have one. There's only 1,200 of them made before the company went out of business. It was a Canadian company. And I had grand aspirations of restoring it back to its original glory. But there's a couple reasons I can't. One is that gear in the transmission that's chipped apart. And the other is, and I can't find parts. The other is the tires on it are the old style flotation balloon style tires, and you can't get those anymore either. There's one person, one company that has pallets of them. They're hoarding them. Why, I don't know. But they bought out a dealership several years ago and bought all their parts from the dealership. And they have what they built is a museum of sorts for amphibious ATVs, and they have a collection of many different brands and models and whatnot on display. And I'm pretty sure that museum is not visited on a regular basis and is not very popular, because this hobby and this interest only appeals to a small niche of people. There's only a few of us weirdos out there that like these things. So as a result, these people have amassed this collection of old machines and parts. When they come across a dealership that's trying to liquidate the company, they buy out the dealership for pennies on the dollar, and they get all the parts. And they have pallets. I've seen the pictures. They have pallets of these old balloon style flotation tires, and they won't sell them. They're hoarding them. Why, I don't know. Rubber deteriorates when it sits. Yep. Breaks down, deteriorates, gets dry, rotted, brittle. Why not sell your inventory to collectors who are looking to restore a machine. And that's the missing piece they need to complete their restoration. You're an a-hole if you sit on stuff in a warehouse looking at it. Pallets. What I saw was 2 pallets stacked about 8 high of these balloon tires, brand new, that you could be selling to guys trying to restore these old machines and stay active in the hobby. Nope. You contact them, hey, can I buy a set of 6 of your balloon tires? No, we're not selling. What? Ridiculous. Do humanity a favor. But anyway, so therefore I can't restore this thing. It's complete. Everything's there. It's all original from 1967 or whatever it was made. Nothing I could do with it. I didn't realize this when I bought it. I paid $300 for the machine. It was sitting on a trailer out in a grassy field. I was driving by on my route, and I looked and I did a double take. I'm like, is that an old 6-wheeler sitting out there? Sure enough. Stopped, talked to the guy. He didn't have any interest. He said, oh, I was going to do something with it, but I just don't have the time. Typical story. $300, get it out of here. So I hauled it home. Yeah. And I've been dragging it around ever since. So, since I can't do anything with it, I'm going to sink it in the lake. Yep. I pulled all the oil out of it, cleaned it up so there isn't any oil residue or gas or anything. And I'm going to make a fish crib out of it. Yep. So that's a project. I'm pretty excited. It's currently sitting on my flatbed trailer. And I was like, okay, so I gotta take it off the trailer, put it on the ground, and start building the crib out of it. There's a couple parts I want to strip off of it, like the headlights. It's got these really cool yellow headlights. I want to save those for some future project. Do a Sanford and Son on that, but everything else can go to the bottom of the lake. So, that being what it is, that's the project for today. But here I'm thinking, how am I gonna build this thing out in front of my garage, and then drag it down to the water's edge, and then drag it into the lake? I'm gonna tear up my driveway. I gotta use my Jeep. I gotta frickin' drag it with a strap, Gotta have 2 people to help to get it into the water. Just making it a horrible thing. So, dawned on me yesterday, just leave it on the trailer. Just leave it on the flatbed, build it on the flatbed, hook the flatbed up to the front of the Jeep, just like I launched the pontoon boat into the lake, and launch this thing into the lake the same way. So once it's built, I'll push it with the trailer down to my new beach area and stuff the trailer in the lake and slide it off the trailer and sink it. So the process I got to do here on this is I need to figure out off the end of my dock. First, I got to figure out how tall the completed crib is going to be. So what I'm putting in the crib, inside the tub, are old Christmas trees and ficus trees. And some of those things stand about 6'3", 7 foot tall. So when I sink this thing, it has to be in water deeper than that, so that the tips are not sticking out of the water. I want to hide this thing. I don't want it to become general knowledge on this lake that I have a brush pile, essentially, off the end of my dock. Because I'll have everybody on the lake camping off the end of my dock, catching fish off my crib. So it's got to be covert. So that means I got to sink it in water that's deep enough to cover the top of it so nobody can see it, and not have people drive through it with their boats running their electric trolling motors and have their trolling motors hit something. So since this lake is nothing but a big salad bowl, there's no weed beds or anything, it's just a bowl. If somebody's cruising along the front of my shoreline, fishing, whatever, and they're going with their trolling motor, and the trolling motor's whispering along, and everything's good, and all of a sudden the trolling motor goes, and their prop is hitting something under the surface, oh, there's something down there. What is it? Let's go over it with the fish finder and take a look. And they're going to see an image of trees. And they're going to go, oh, wow, a fish crib. Let's camp out in front of Kenny's house. Yeah. No. So, I got to sink it in about 12 feet of water. Yeah. So, what this means is I'm going to have to go out first with the pontoon boat and my fish finder, my depth finder, off the end of my dock and find the perfect depth. And then I got to drop a marker buoy down so that the buoy is floating on the surface, so I know right where I have to drag the crib to let it sink at that spot. So that's step number one. I also have a big log, a waterlogged log, laying in my swimming beach area that I have to dig up, free up, and drag out of there. What I want to do with that log is I want to drag it out into the water and sink it. So I have a big log laying on the bottom for fish structure. So I got to do that. Otherwise, when I try to stuff the trailer down into the lake, I remember we had problems. Phil and I had problems when we tried to stuff the trailer into the lake to launch the boat. That log was, trying to drive over that log, it was a problem. So I got to rip that out of there first and position that in the lake along my shoreline, perpendicular. I'm going to have it, like if this is the shore, it's running this way, I'm going to have the log laying out that way. So that will allow a bass or some panfish to be along the length of that log. And I'll put that just to the left of my dock. Yeah. So that means I got to put waders on. I gotta pry this thing out of the dirt with some big heavy pry bars, loosen it up, roll it out into the water, and then manually drag it over to where I want to position it next to the dock, and then let it sink right at that spot. That'll open up the beach area so that I can roll the trailer down into the water. I'm going to take the trailer, hook it onto the front of the Jeep, push the trailer in front of the shop, and build the crib in front of the shop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those old ficus trees, artificial fake trees, and that Christmas tree in the bottom of the machine. And I'm going to get a bag of Quikrete cement, and I'm going to mix up a slurry of that stuff and pour it in the bottom of the tub of the skipper, and set the trees, the base of the tree, into the wet concrete and let it cure, and that'll anchor it in place so that it can't tip over. I'm going to throw all the other parts, metal parts for the machine, in the tub to act as weight. The transmission that I've cleaned all the oil out of, the axles, things like that, which are metal, those all act as ballast. On the tub itself, there's holes that are drilled on each side. There's 3 holes where the axles came out for the wheels. I'm going to take duct tape and I'm going to tape off those holes, but I'm going to leave about that much space So if this is the hole, I'm going to tape it off like that. So that'll allow water to come into the tub, but it'll come in slowly. Because what I have to do is I have to back the trailer into the water. I have to drag the skipper off the trailer, and it has to float. And I'll have a strap hooked up to the skipper to my pontoon boat. And I'll use the outboard on the pontoon boat to drag the skipper as it's floating out to where the marker buoy is sitting. And then I just sit and wait. I take the strap off, I put my hand on the machine, or I have a stick or something to hold it in place, and I just sit there and wait as it fills up with water. And then eventually down it goes. And it's resting on the bottom, right where that marker buoy is, where I want it to be. Now that marker buoy, like I said, not only does it have to be in deep enough water to where the tops of the trees are not sticking out of the water where people can see them, down far enough where their electric trolling motors won't, come into the tops of the trees and they know something's there. But also it has to be positioned within casting distance while you're standing on the dock. So what I'm going to have Scrunchy do is I'm going to have her stand on the end of the dock with her panfish rod and try to make as long of a cast as she can, a couple of them, and see where her bait consistently lands in the water. And hopefully that spot will be about 12 feet deep, and that's where I can sink the crib. Casting distance from the dock. Does no good to sink a crib 30 feet out from your dock, but you can't get your baits there. What's the point? You got to literally go out in the boat to fish your crib? No, I want to be able to hit it off the end of the dock. I also want to put some sort of a float on it to mark its I don't know. I'm on the fence on that. If I put a float on it, even a float that's sitting about that far below the surface of the water, somebody's going to see it eventually. I'd like to mark it so I can find it in the winter. I'd like to put some sort of a float on there with a rod that sticks up so that when the lake freezes, I got this stick sticking up above the ice. But I don't know. I might just pace it off the dock and try to figure out, or line up some reference points on shore, something. But I want to know exactly where that thing is on the bottom, so in the wintertime I can set my tip downs all the way around it to catch all the fish that are hovering and sitting in that crib, because they will. That's the only structure in the lake. Yeah. Except for the guy across the way that I hooked that muskie bait into his fish crib. I now know where that is. Yeah. So that's the plan for today. And if there's time, maybe while I'm working on the crib, I need Rob to look at the Jeep and try to figure out why I don't have a brake light on the rear on the driver's side. Kill two birds with one stone. Scrunch is coming up at some point mid-morning. She's not having a good time right now. Of course, she was sick, but it turned out it was like a 24-hour bug. She's feeling better. But she's got problems at work. Yeah, the workload has slowed down. Her billable hours jobs that she gets her monetary quarterly bonus for have been delegated to some other people instead of her. So she's not getting her billable hours for her bonuses. She lives for those. She's actually gone so far as to delegate those quarterly bonuses to pay certain bills like car insurance and things. I told her, I says, you never do that. Never count on a bonus for your life sustenance. But, you know, I told her, I said, just be grateful that you're getting paid hourly and you get a 40-hour work week. And you get a paycheck, you know. So that's the project for the weekend. Like I said, Rob doesn't want to go to church, so I'm not going to go to church. And it sounds like Scrunch isn't either. She's decided she's not going to go by herself, so that's okay. We can miss a Sunday. It's a valid reason. I'm harboring a struggling friend. Spending some quality time with him to give him a positive environment so that he doesn't have to come home to a negative environment. Now, what's really, again, really weird, and it's due to the algorithm on YouTube. It's not Yahweh sending me messages in this case. But, man, there was 6 videos in my inbox this morning that directly applied to Rob's situation and instructions on how to deal with a woman who's like Kate, a fatalist. Yep. So, of course, I forwarded those videos to him. Now, last night, when he got home, radio silence. I didn't hear from him all night. I haven't heard from him yet this morning, and normally he's up by now, and he would be chiming in. So, that means they're talking. They're interacting. Yeah, he was doing her brakes on her car when he got home last night. But he was trying to tell me, I'm not saying a thing. I'm walking in the house, dropping my shit. I'm going out in the shop. I'm going to work on her car, and then I'm going to bed. And I'm not gonna interact. Yeah, you are. It's who you are. He's simping right now. He's groveling and begging, trying to fix it. But yet he tells me, nope, I've figured her out between the information you've given me, my friends or my family has given me. I'm done. I'm not this. If I were to stay with her, this would be it would be hell from here on out. I'm done. I'm checking out. No, he's not. It's the best thing that ever happened to him. Appearance-wise. You know, he thinks she's a hottie. And, yeah, no. It's like I was when I was with the diva. You know, the diva was a MILF. She was very attractive, and I thought I hit the jackpot. And yeah. Nope. She was straight up a demon. So, nothing good about her. Except her looks and her sex drive. Yeah. And her cooking skills. But other than that, total shit. So, that's the world he's living in now. Up here. He doesn't want to lose what he perceives as the best thing that ever happened to him. But time away, when you're outside the box looking in, it'll take a few years. It's taken me a while, hasn't it? If you stayed with this channel, you watched the whole thing happen. Yeah, it's taken a while, but I wouldn't take the diva back if it came along with a freaking lottery winning. Hell no. She's unqualified to be in a relationship with a man. Straight up, period. She needs to do humanity a favor and stay single. Some people are not meant to date. They're not meant to be in a relationship because they're so messed up that they're a hindrance, not an asset. Yeah, They don't benefit humanity in any way or relationships. And the Diva Succubus Mongoose is one of those. Poster child for that. Too far gone. Yeah. So, Kate is kind of along the same lines. Rob and I were trying to figure out yesterday what her injury was. What in her world caused her to be narcissistically scarred and injured and is causing her to bounce from one relationship to the next, and not staying fully committed, being a fatalist and wanting to run away all the time. A couple of the videos that were on YouTube this morning were talking about that. And I sent those to Rob so he can understand the monster he's dealing with. Yeah. So, some people are just too far gone. They just, their scars and their injuries are permanent. There's no healing from it. And they're just on an endless loop of failed relationships. And Kate's one of those, and so is the Diva. So, yeah. So is Mia. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, so we discussed that last night, or yesterday, I should say. He went radio silent the minute he got home. He's been radio silent ever since. Scrunch was taking bets. If Kate is talking to him last night, they had a talk. Kate was taking bets that Rob wouldn't even show up today. Yeah, if he's talking with Kate and it's going well and it's calm and it's rational, he's going to stay there, because to him that's going to be false hope that he can fix the situation, despite everything he said. Nope, I've turned off the switch. I realize what life would be like in the future. I don't care anymore. I don't give a shit anymore. All this is what I heard yesterday throughout the day. But if last night went well with conversing with Kate, if the daughter wasn't there, which I'm pretty sure she wasn't, and that allowed Kate and Rob to be alone together and have a discussion without Kate having a daughter there that she had to try to impress, there's a chance he won't show up this weekend because, well, it looks like it's working with Kate, so I'm going to stick around here and keep working on it. Yeah. And that's fine. I think I can do this project by myself, or with Scrunchy's help. So, you know, Scrunchy, yesterday, she's having a bad day. She's having a bad period of time, but she still rose above and was giving me compliments and telling me how much she appreciates me, values me, and yeah, words of affirmation. Yep. She went out after work and did some shopping. I says, "You hate shopping." And she said, "Not this kind of shopping." She bought me a birthday present. Now there's some things I looked at when I was with her and we were shopping in the store. And I looked at them and I indicated I wanted them, but I really don't. I just saw one of these was a gun that I was looking at, and I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have that. But it's just a, how do I describe it? It's just a fleeting, I don't know how to describe it. I saw the gun, I thought, oh, it'd be nice to have that. But now that I've sat back and I thought about it, I would never use it, hardly at all. So why have it? Why have her spend her hard-earned money on something that I'm going to go, yeah, that's pretty cool, and put it in the gun cabinet and never actually use it? You know what I mean? So, yeah. I don't know. I got a habit of doing that. Seeing something and thinking, oh, that'd be cool to have, or I could use that. And then I come home and I sit and I think about that item, and I'm like, not really. There's other things that I could use or want more than that. I don't need that. You know what I mean? The buyer's remorse kind of thing that I talked about in earlier videos, where I buy something, impulse buy, and then I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? Why? Oh man. Yeah. It's like a form of adult attention deficit disorder. Ooh, look, something pretty, something shiny. I would like that. And when you're with somebody like Scrunch, who's listening and paying attention to that, oh, look who's calling. It's Robert. I shall return.